This is my example of today's lesson, and it's called a value painting. It's all in black, white, and gray. So you're working just with values in this painting. Welcome. This is our first class of our winter acrylics class, Friday morning class. And we're starting off really basically. We're starting off with a value painting. Okay, and value is so important to painting. Some people think that color is the most important thing and they kind of focus on the color, but color isn't. It's value that's the most important that will make you have a strong painting. And what value is the amount of black and white in the color. So whatever you mix in black and white in the color, that changes the value of the color. But we're sticking with just black and white today. And it will be actually more than black and white. It's going to be black and white and several shades of gray. And so the first thing I want you to do, if you haven't already, is take your, I think I put the wrong measurements on this. It's 15 by 20. I said 15 by 22. I went in there and go, oh gosh, no, it's 15 by 20. Illustration board. If you have watercolor paper or some other kind of surface canvas that you want to work on, that's fine too. But I do encourage you to gesso it completely with white gesso. And that's because the paint will soak into the surface, or the surface will repel the paint in places if you don't have gesso down. I am a real proponent of putting down a coat of gesso almost every time I work. Not with watercolor, of course, but with acrylics, you need the gesso down first. So do that and then set it aside and let it dry. And then what I'm going to pass out is this little paper here. And so the first thing is an exercise that you're going to be doing, and you're going to be doing what they call a value ladder. And there are 9 different levels in the value ladder, starting with, you can start with white or black, it doesn't matter, but if you start with white at the top, then you add a little black to it, a little more black, a little more black, a little more black, a little more black, until the last square is completely black. And everything in between should be shades of gray, and they should just incrementally go down. And so it's a good mixing exercise to do this, because you're going to find out as you do it that you did this one and then the next one, oh my gosh, that's the same color, so I got to go back and make this one lighter. I got to go back and make this one darker. It's a process, that you have to do. And then we're going to use this when you get to doing your actual value painting. So I'll be passing these out. Any questions?
Is it better to start with white paint and then just add a little tinge of black to it?
I think so. That's the way I would do it, because the black is so strong that it will overtake at a certain point if you get a little bit too much in there. So I think starting with the white is best, just adding little bits of black to it as you go.
Should we use the gesso on that? Gesso or
gesso?
Or gesso?
Yeah, you can. You could do that. And I encourage it. The reason, okay, we're actually going to be painting with gesso the whole time today, unless you choose not to. And the reason I use gesso is because it is very inexpensive, much less expensive than paint. And the white gesso, you can use a lot less white paint if you use the gesso to mix with your colors. So I always have gesso on hand. In fact, I buy it in industrial size because I use a lot of it. But so that's why I use gesso. You can use paint, but paint is expensive, and so this is a cheaper way. The one downside of white gesso, and it won't be a problem now because you're putting it down as a base color right now, but it is a little more transparent than titanium white. So sometimes when I'm mixing it with paints, it doesn't do the job that I need. I need more, a more solid white, so I will go to paint in that case. So anyway, but gesso today, yeah, that's what we're working with. Okay, anything else? Okay, get started. Okay, now I've asked you to tape your board down, and that's to keep it solid and keep it in one place. And the board does, as you put the gesso on, tend to curve a little bit. If you don't want that curve, what we could have done is dried it on one side, turned it over, and put gesso on the other side. So that evens it out and that makes it flat. But that takes more time right now. You can also go back later and just put a layer of gesso on the back of it. That will flatten it out. But anyway, so what we're going to do now is just take your pencil and do a drawing of, and it's going to be an organic drawing, just shapes. And you want to go around, I mean, you can decide how you want to do it, but organic means that it's all curvy. So this is going to be a curvy drawing. Yeah. So just, and make sure that you end up with shapes in this. And a shape is when something comes around and meets itself. So it can go off the edge, but it should be a complete surface. The edge would be part of that surface if you go off the edge. So and just have fun any way you want to do it. Now see, that isn't good because that isn't making a complete shape. You don't want to have an end without a shape there.
You don't want to have an end with
And without meeting its other end. You know, what I did right there, I kind of left a hole. I wanted to join it. Okay, so it makes a complete shape.
Oh.
A shape is when the end meets itself.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't have just pieces coming through and ending in the middle without being connected to anything.
Oh, I see what you mean, so
Yeah.
when the color stops and starts.
Right.
Okay.
Lines instead of.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit more up here. And make sure you cover the whole surface. Okay, so that's your drawing. And you want to have a variety of different sizes of shapes. You notice I put some little shapes in there, some medium shapes. Put another medium shape over here, some larger shapes. So there needs to be a variety, so everything isn't the same size. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is paint only with black and white. And I'm going to suggest you have white down here already, so you don't have to paint over this white unless you've made a mistake like I did there, then I have to paint over it. But you can, I would suggest starting with black, just plain black, and paint some of these shapes black. Don't go too far with it because you're going to have gray areas as well. Maybe I'll make this big shape here. Okay, so I put a few black shapes in there. What you want to do is, you know, you had your value ladder, and you want to have every single color of those grays within this painting. And so you're gonna start, I usually start with white. And add a little bit of black to it. And then come up with a gray. Now what you want to do is on some of these, you want to shade it so that it's darker along one side for one area. And what this is going to do is it will make it look three-dimensional. Your painting will become three-dimensional. And you don't have to do it on all of them. You can have some of them solid. And then I want you to go back at some points during your time of painting and check with your value ladder and see if you have incorporated every single different level of gray that you have on that ladder within this painting. Okay? Is that everybody clear on that? Any questions?
Do you want the different values to be kind of side by side on the pictures, like going from lighter to darker, whatever?
You know, that is totally up to you. If you want to do it that way, you could do it. You could have that would be called a gradation. And you can do a gradation across if that's the way you want to do it. That would be individual artist's decision. This one I did not. I kind of went in variety all around it, but of course you want to have contrast between one shape and the shape that's next to it, so you've got to do something to it. Any other questions? Okay, you started.
So
There's no
up or down.
Good. Yeah.
These are examples of what people did in the class today.
I gotta use
I think I'm gonna have to. Okay, next week, we're working a little smaller next week. We're gonna do a quarter sheet, 22 by 30 watercolor sheet cut in a quarter. And we're gonna work with only 2 colors. And you get a little choice on that. But I'm giving you colors to bring, which are white, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, magenta, and Payne's gray. You will only use 2 of those. You'll either use magenta and Payne's gray or ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. You can choose which one you want to use, and I'll have examples of both of them. And you're going to make this painting in just with those 2 colors, but you'll be blending them, you'll be mixing them, and you can add white to it also. So what I want you to do is I want you to bring a photograph. And that photograph can be of anything. I'm going to have examples of a flower, people sitting at a table, scene on the street scene, you know, so it could be almost anything. But what's important about that photograph is it has to have good values in it. So pick a photograph with good values. We were working with values today, so you know what that means. It means a good range of black to white in the photograph, because that's going to be your basis of working with your 2 colors.